Hello and welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine. I'm coming to you from the north of Germany, and this is a knitting podcast. So, today I am so glad to be back because, again, as always, I didn't mean to be gone for as long as I was, but that's what happens, right? Life was very busy. My kids went back to school. One of my kids went on to a new school, so that was very exciting. It still is. So a lot of things were going on. Today it's just going to be a quick little episode, but I absolutely wanted to be back and talk to you and just say hi and share my knitting with you. Okay, so since we are renovating our living room, which is no fun at all. Let's just say that and then move on to another topic. I could not record indoors really. I mean, I could, but other rooms didn't really have enough light that I was looking for, and it's still early in the morning and so on. So the sun is just peeping up behind the house, or like over the house, which is kind of unfortunate because I thought I would be safe in the shade for just a few minutes longer, but okay. So I decided to record in the garden like I used to, but this is a new spot, so I haven't recorded here. I had to bring a hot water bottle, which I have positioned in my bag because it's gotten pretty chilly, and I'm here for it. I'm all here for it. I'm happy for fall to arrive. But yeah, so that's where I am. That's why it's so windy out. I hope you don't hear it. But yeah, like I said, it's just going to be a short little episode because I mainly have one sort of project to talk about, and you'll get the hang of that in a minute. I'm quickly going to talk about what I'm wearing because you might realize that if you are a returning viewer, that I still had this one on my needles last time that we spoke. This is my stripe hype sweater, and so there are still ends peeping out. They're all woven in, snipped off, blocked, and I have to trim them now more carefully because I only do that after blocking, and apparently I haven't done it. So yeah, sorry. That's my stripe hype sweater, which I think is a pattern by Veronica Lindberg. So I'm going to link all of the show notes down below in the description box for you. So my Ravelry pages, ways to contact me, the pattern names on the Ravelry pages, and so on. All of this is going to be linked down below for you. So if you want to get more information on yarns, patterns, etc., just click on the respective link. And if Ravelry for some reason is not feasible for you, if you can't use it, but you do want the information, then just send me a message on, I don't know, Instagram, or leave a comment, or shoot me an email, and I can get the info to you, no problem. So like I explained last time, I'm not going to go into that a whole lot this time. Cast on the sweater, knit on it until it was almost finished, put it away, never touched it again, then pulled it back out from out of hibernation just a few weeks ago and thought, this is ridiculous. I have to finish this sweater. And I was stuck somewhere where I didn't know how many more stripes I wanted to insert. And also, this is knit out of scrap yarn, mostly Rauma Finul and Jameson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight, just random scraps that I had from my half and half triangles wrap and other projects. And I was running out of yarn, so I needed to buy yarn for one more contrasting stripe and for the bind off, because just my calculations, that's a big word, my estimates hadn't really worked out like I thought they were gonna, but I didn't put any effort in, so it wasn't a big wonder. Yeah, anyway, so I picked this back up and finished the body in no time because I think it was just one stripe and then one in the main color and then the bind off, the ribbing and the bind off. And with the sleeves, I think I had this much to go. So that was fast. That was a fast knit. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, but I did do it now, and that's what counts. And I'm very happy with my finished stripe pipe sweater. It's just the right weight for this sort of weather when it certainly is so very crisp in the mornings and you do have wind, but it's not really cold enough to really bundle up. You know, you don't really need a shawl. You don't really need all the gear, but you just want to put on something that 5 days ago would have really been too warm. So that's kind of where we're at. I have said before that I don't think a dropped shoulder is really my construction. If I'm honest and I, stand in front of the mirror like that, I don't think it does much for me in terms of proportion and shoulder width, because my shoulders are already pretty wide. You know, they're just a little bit wider than my hips, just a little bit, but they are. And I don't think this shape really does much for me. With the dropped shoulder and then the arm beginning here, maybe the stripes also accentuated. Could be that a dropped shoulder and just one color is a different story altogether. I'm not sure. But also it's a pretty baggy sleeve and not a slimmer fit. Maybe that also plays into that. I don't know. But I think going forward, the dropped shoulder may not be a priority of mine, but I probably will still knit it if it's an absolutely stunning design that I really definitely want to make and don't have it in me to modify into a round yoke or a raglan or whatsoever. So, and for the colors, I really love my contrasting colors. I think they're all sort of colors that are really in my wheelhouse. The contrasting color, this beige, obviously isn't, but I'm very proud of it because it's all, what is going on here? Because it's all hand spun. And it was one of my first hand spun yarns ever that really turned into a bigger spin, just not one skein to try out a fiber or just to try out spinning, period. But so I produced more of this yarn, which shows because it is really kind of, well, you can tell the further I got in my spinning journey, the more consistent I became. And so the top passage is a little more uneven and has more holes and so on, but it really doesn't bother me because I'm just so happy that I A, managed to spin that yarn, and B, to knit with it in a garment that I actually get to wear. So I'm really not a perfectionist on this garment whatsoever, and that is good because there are other areas in my life where I very much struggle with that. And it's so relaxing to have this be a place where I'm okay with it being a bit messy and yeah, and that feels good. It's what makes knitting so special and gives you a break from your everyday, right? So yeah. Okay, so that was my wrap up of my stripe pipe sweater and also the jump into finished objects. And now I'm gonna have to take a sip of tea before it's cold because the wind really cools it down so quickly, and then I'll be back with my other 2 finished objects. I have two more finished objects to show you. And so the story is the following. A few weeks back, we had our monthly meeting with our local knitting group, and I suggested that we all bring our leftovers, our sock yarn leftovers to sort of trade. And we did that. And I went home with this orange and brown yarn, which is very unusual for me because orange and brown are 2 colors that I usually don't touch because they're not for me. And I thought this shade of orange was kind of sweet though, because it's a salmon orange, right? It has, I don't know. It's a bit of a pinky orange, but just ever so slightly. And the brown I could also live with for some reason. And it was just the slightest, the smallest leftover. that someone in our knitting group had brought. And for some reason, I kept looking at it. I thought, I'm just going to take it home and make socks for my daughter, and sort of shorty socks because the yarn wouldn't allow for anything else. And I knew I had to give it contrasting heels and toes. And as it turned out, just also knit this last little bit of ribbing on the foot in the contrasting color because the yarn was all used up by then. Because, surprise, my 4-year-old's feet have grown, which, duh, they do all the time. But yeah, I managed to use all of my yarn up and get her a little pair of socks. I was also very glad to get rid of this white or off-white leftover. There, it's a little bit dirty because she's worn one sock around the house when that sock was off my needles and the other one was still on. She kept wanting to put it on, put it on, put it on. I said, well, you need two. She said, no, I don't, and ran around in one sock. Okay, so they're off my needles. They're very cute. I cast on 48 stitches for her and then just knit a cuff and just a tiny little bit, heel flap and gusset, decreases, and then just had her try the sock on and then eyeballed it, sort of. Yeah, so that was a quick knit. And I also have another pair of socks finished because that seems to be my big thing at the moment. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden it's socks, 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 socks. It's all about socks. I knit socks like there is no tomorrow. I don't know. No, it's not like I knit socks all day, but when I knit socks because now with our new school routine, I have to go to bed so early because I have to get up so super early that there is really almost no knitting time in the evening, which is a bummer and is a problem. And I'm going to have to figure out what to do about it because there is no way that's going to be my life from now on. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough, but we're not going to solve this now. I just don't have that much knitting time throughout the day right now, but I do make a point of taking little breaks where I take up my knitting, but that is like for 10 minutes. So that's also not really satisfying, but it's at least something and a slowing down of sorts and focusing on my knitting for a moment. And then socks, I mean, they get knit. They knit up like this pretty fast. If you put on all of your 10 minutes that you have throughout the day, your sock really does progress quite fast, doesn't it? Anyway, so these are socks for a friend. They're almost entirely matchy-matchy. I managed to almost match them up exactly, which, let me have a look-see. It just turned out so that it wouldn't be hard. Yeah, because I was almost at the end of the entire color repeat of this stripe repeat, and so I made it so that they're almost identical because I thought, why not? And they are so regular adult size, like a size 39-40, something like that. So I cast on 60 stitches, went with my 2x2 ribbing, switched to a 3x1, heel flap and gusset, blah, 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 cast off. And I didn't do any contrasting yarns except for the heel. And I went back and forth on, I'm sorry, I hope you don't hear the wind now too much, on which color to insert here because it could have been poppy, like I could have used a real pop of that Tweedy pink yarn that you may have seen last time on a different sock. And I thought that would look really good. But then I thought, considering which friend this is going to, this color really made so much sense. She's a spring, and I think, so like her skin tone is a spring. And these colors, I think, are perfect for a spring, as is this one. She is really one for all the powdery colors. And yeah, these are going to her and soon. and because she has something to celebrate, and so that was a priority to get these off my needles. The problem is now that I don't seem to be getting around to giving them a soak. That is a little typical of me, but I'm gonna figure this out. I think it should not be so hard. And now I wonder, is this all that I thought I had? So we transitioned into works in progress, and I thought I had one entire sock finished, but that does not seem to be true because the ball of yarn is still very big. So by the way, for the kids' socks, I don't know the yarn. I don't know what it is. For those ones, you will have to check on my Ravelry because I have no idea. It's completely been wiped off my mind. So you will have to check on my, on my Ravelry page in case you're interested in the colorway. Now with this one, I can tell you. So I have a pair of socks for another friend on the needles, and that is an opal yarn, a 100 Wasser yarn. So they have this line that mimics paintings by the painter 100 Wasser, and then they translate those paintings into yarn, sort of. So that is the sock that I have. Well, not only cast, I had it cast on just the tiniest little bit, I think, last time we spoke, and I've not picked it up so much. Sorry for the noise, because of my other projects, but I'm now at this point, so I'm just going to continue on for a little bit more, for maybe this much, and then put in not the heel, the toe. And I think I'm going to go with that opal yarn for the toe as well. This is again 60 stitches, 2x2, 3x1, heel flap gusset. It's always the same with me. So, you know, that's my sock recipe, and I've been knitting socks for 30 years now, I think. So I've worked on the sock recipe for long enough that I don't change a thing about it, ever. Because I know exactly what to do when, and I know how to knit socks for other people so that they fit them. At least no one's ever complained. And when I asked them, they said they did fit. So I just have to take their word for that. Okay, so that's the ball of yarn. It's still so substantial. So this is definitely the first sock, but that's okay. So the colorway on the image that they have here, it looks really weird, but I think it looks fun in real life. I really like this passage, which will not come as a surprise to you. I really enjoy this red and green sort of passage, but I think this very vibrant yellow greenish thing going on here is a lot of fun, and kind of suits the friend that I have in mind. So hold on, this is based on the painting. The rain falls far from us. No, the rain falls far from us, falls the rain, apparently. And the colorway name is the colorway is number 4056. Opal. Okay. The yellow is just whatever yellow I had in my stash. Is there a tag? No, there is no tag. I just had this one little ball that I used for Christmas socks last year, I think, as a contrasting sort of golden color. But I don't now remember what it is. It's just, all of this is just commercial German sock yarn. So sturdy, in other words, right? And now I can show you my last work in progress that I have on the needles. And here, in this case, I do have the first sock finished. So I will have already told you last time, I think, that one of my local yarn stores had a fall yarn sale, sort of, before fall was even here. So they cleared out their shelves of last year's fall sock yarn colorways before this season's colorways came in, you know, and were put on display. So there were, and it was 40% off. That is 40% off. So of course I went. And my daughter and I, we picked out yarns, and plenty of those yarns, I didn't overdo it. I was really proud of myself. I didn't overshop. And so that was also one of those yarns that I got there. I thought it was going to be gorgeous. And I think they are, it's really beautiful, but I'm glad I didn't buy 2 balls of yarn because I'm happy with these ones, and there is enough left over so that my daughter gets a pair out of those because she insists. But then I'm ready to move on to other yarn. With this one, it's a different thing. I wish I'd bought more of those, of this colorway. So here I inserted contrasting colors. I'm not sure I'm 100% happy with the green in this. But the thing is, I thought they were definitely going to be for someone else because I didn't know it was going to knit up so beautifully. So had I known I was knitting them for me, which I ended up deciding, I would not have put in the green no matter what. And that's where I'm in a bit of a pickle because I don't know. Should I keep them and just live with the green? I didn't have it in me to take it out and take out the green, or try and get another ball of yarn and knit another pair just for myself, or just gift them and close that chapter. You know, I don't know, but this is a sock. I'm going to tell you the colorway in a moment. It's really beautiful. I think it is so autumnal, and the yellow and the orange doesn't bother me. It's what it makes it so autumnal. But all of those beautiful purple and pink colors in there are just so good. The sock yarn is the following. It's called Meilenweit Socktober by Tanja Steinbach, who you might know. She's a knitwear designer, and the colorway is 4336, and that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like much all balled up like this, but then knit up. I wish they'd had a sock there as an example, like an example sock. That would have been good. But well, anyway, so because then I would have bought more of this. Definitely, I would have definitely gone for 2 balls of yarn. And now this is a problem because I'm in the middle of the row, so I'm going to have to finish this real quick to show you where I'm at on my second sock, which I have a lot of fun knitting on. It's really so fun knitting on these socks, and see the colors come together is just beautiful. So, okay, let me get to the end of that needle, and then I will be able to show you my sock. So I went for a different green because I was running out of this lighter green color, see? And I think I'm at the end of this leg. I almost, oh, I know the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one more round and then I can put in the heel. And the heel is going to be this lighter pink color, which is this leftover, which I hope and think will be enough for this heel also. And that is Jawoll, so long yarns, Jawoll sock yarn. And the colorway is, I think, 2113. I think that's the colorway. Let's say it is. But so that's a tiny leftover that's going to be put in here as a heel. And then after the heel, socks are, once the heel is in, the socks are almost done, right? So the heel is always a bit annoying, but once it's in, and maybe I'll get through the heel today and tomorrow, that tells you enough about the amount of knitting time that I get right now. But maybe I'll get through it today. If not, today and tomorrow, and then I'll be able to just knit my sock. It's going to be so much fun. But we do have a parent-teacher night tonight. I'm remembering just now, so no afternoon knitting. No evening knitting for me today. Huh. Okay. Maybe I'll get through it while I edit, but I don't think so. Anyway, that doesn't have to be your problem. Don't worry about my knitting time. Or my tea for that matter, because my tea bag is still in. I always leave it in, but in the wind, the little tag is just flying around. So let me take another sip and then I'll sign off. So like I said, this was going to be a relatively quick one for me. Whoops. I have half of my garden on my lap now. So like I said, this was going to be a relatively quick episode for me today. Because I only have socks to talk about. Like I said, it's all about socks at the moment. And yeah, and you get through those so quickly. Okay, I'll sign off from, my sunflower bed, which is in its last throes, sort of. We will, enjoy our flowers for as long as they'll last, but soon fall is really going to be here. We have a huge walnut crop, so there's my walnut tree over there. And last year there wasn't any crop because longer story, but this year there is one. And since we've moved here 2 years ago, this is really our first crop, really, and I get to forage through our garden every day and carry a whole load of walnuts indoors, so much that I even worry about where I can, spread them to, because they have to dry out, right? And also like air out. So it's gotten to a point where it's a bit of a problem because of space. Where will I put it? Especially with our living room being renovated. But again, it's not your problem, it's mine. It's just what's been going on in my garden and in our lives, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's been so fun to talk to you again and to show you just what I've been working on. Sometimes life is a little bit slower, knitting is a little bit slower because life is so fast paced, and that's exactly why we need it as a sort of a counterweight, like an antidote, right? And I'll try and get that into more of a balance as we move into fall and through fall, so that maybe our everyday life isn't going to be as hectic anymore. That would be so great. So I'll hopefully talk to you again soon. Let that be a reminder for you to pick up your knitting on a regular basis, to, calm down, de-stress, decompress, focus on things you can hold in your hands, and accept the fact that things take time, and that is the normal state. Everything doesn't have to be instantaneous. Usually things take time, So that's what I take from my knitting these days. So happy knitting, you guys. I hope I'll talk to you again soon. And do leave me a comment if you feel like it, because I'm always very happy to hear from the people, behind the screen. Okay, take care. Bye.